Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Paideia in the Know. We have the lovely Natalie Thomas from Nat's Next Adventure with us.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. So for those of you who don't know, Natalie and I used to work together a long time ago on Hallmark's Home and Family. And for like a minute, you were my boss.
I was, and it was a great minute.
Yeah, now I'm in charge.
She was, I like to tell the story, she was my assistant, I hired her as my assistant. I realized how phenomenal and talented and amazing she is, and while she was the best assistant I've ever had, I knew that for her career trajectory, she should not be there, so not replaced, but I promoted her within like 3 weeks, which is unprecedented, I think, to a producer, and then she rises through the ranks that way, and I never found as good of an assistant as she is, but we've been lifelong friends.
Yeah. So anyway, it's great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. Maybe for some of the viewers who are new to Nat's Next Adventure, can you tell us a little bit about your history and your background and also what you're up to?
So my background is in mostly publishing. I was in book publishing and magazine publishing for the bulk of my career, and then I went into TV where I met Amy. And so I always loved telling a story and interviewing people and finding the latest and greatest and sharing it with an audience. And that all kind of came to fruition when I was at home with my daughter and not wanting to go back 24/7 to those careers, but still wanting to do those elements of things I loved. So I started freelance writing, which has always been a passion of mine, and I started a Tumblr to house those articles, to archive them. And I was at home with my daughter and needing a creative outlet, much more creative. So I was starting to cook for the first time in the kitchen, and I was delving into children's fashion and photographing that and talking about that and sharing little snippets of ridiculous conversations my husband and I were having as new parents. And I started to share those on that Tumblr, and then I thought my mom was reading it, then friends were reading it, and then it finally started to catch on a little bit. So I thought, maybe there's something here. I launched it into its own website about almost four and a half years ago, and Nat's Next Adventure was born, and it was based on the Choose Your Own Adventure books as a kid that were my favorite. And so the hook is that while it's a lifestyle blog and we talk about fashion and food and kids, every once in a while I'll do a Choose My Own Adventure. So my readers and my followers can choose what trip I go on, how I decorate something in my home, what party I plan, what I wear to an event. And it's a really fun, interactive experiment where everyone gets to be part of the process. And I do a lot of it now in real time on Instagram because that's where we all are. So there's not as much done in the blog anymore with that. It's done kind of, on the daily and I love that poll button because I started that way back 5 years ago, and I had to build a widget into my site, and now Instagram has made it so easy for me where there's an actual poll button and it's far less work. And everyone it's so easy for everyone to just, choose their opinion and choose their vote. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've been blogging, I've been writing. The crux of not only is the fun aspect, the interactive thing, but really what I found kind of my bread and butter is that 6 years ago when I had my daughter, I talked about not liking being pregnant when like every other woman was like, I'm with child and I'm glowing and there's butterflies flying through the air. And I was like, that's not me. That's not my experience. I can't relate to that. So I talked about that when really not that many people were. I talked about my struggles with nursing when not many people were, and it's so taboo. I talked about my miscarriage when not many people were. So I've had thankfully, a lot of people find me that way and feel that I'm kind of, I often hear that I took the words right out of their mouth, or that I make them feel less alone. So that's really been, I feel like, my true calling in my career, is that I'm now talking about my daughter's struggles with anxiety and my own as well. So talking about the real stuff that people can really relate to and the real life issues. It's fun to talk about fun earrings. But we also need some meat and some weight in there, and that's what really resonates with people.
Totally. And I think that, I also want everyone to know about your next project because I'm super excited about it for you, and I feel like everyone can really benefit from it. For those of you who don't know, Natalie has an amazing background. She started in book publishing. She was a magazine editor before she moved into production. So she really has a keen eye for brands and how to integrate with them, and she's now sharing some of that knowledge through your consulting venture.
Yes. So thank you very much. Yes. It's very nice. I have, as we all have, I'm sure, with our varied backgrounds, and I've been in a lot of different areas within this business, and I've learned a lot of different facets the hard way, trial and error, massive learning curves, and I've been able to glean a lot of, takeaways and advice and wisdom from all of that. And so about 2 years ago, I was finding that I'm the kind of person who the more balls in the air, the better. I work better when I have a lot of things to excite me and to work on and sink my teeth into than if I have not much going on. So I was doing my own thing and I was loving it. It was going well, but I felt like I really wanted to help others with what I had learned. And I didn't really want to necessarily do a webinar, and I didn't really, want to write a whole book on that. I want to do my own my own project for Bookwise. We'll talk about that another time. But I really did want to help others. And I was chatting with a friend one day, and this is one of my best pieces of advice, is to I tend to keep everything inside. Not emotions and feelings, I talk about them, I write about those, but my goals and my dreams. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because it's scary or because I don't want to put it out there for fear of failure. But the more you talk about kind of where you want to go in life and your goals and your dreams with others, it's so beneficial, because several times now, that's what brought me to Home and Family.
Yeah.
That's what's got me started consulting, is because I'm out with drinks with a friend and all of our friends are so eclectic and varied and accomplished and know tons of people. And so I just said, this is kind of where I'm at, and I want to help other women in particular. And I really think I could be good at that, sharing the wealth, the wisdom and the wealth that I've learned. And so she was like, I have this woman. She's, she started her own Pilates place. They're based in California, but she also has one in New York. She's amazing. You would love her. You guys would click. She's a mom boss and a hustler. And she said she really needs help with her social. And I said, let me meet her. So we met. Her name is Amy Jordan. She runs Wounded Bar Pilates. She's fantastic. You should definitely go give her a follow. And we chatted, and she was like, yes, you're what I've been needing in my life. And I was like, you're what I've been needing in mine. I want to, spread the wealth.
Yeah.
And so we started working together. And for a year, I signed on for a year, and I had a retainer, and I was helping her. I've transformed her entire socials. She'll be the first one to say, that's just she's a killer fitness instructor. She was killing it in the game Pilates-wise. But understandably, that doesn't translate to branding or to social. And so she needed help with that. We all need help in different areas. I just went to a Pinterest course and an SEO because I'm terrible at that.
Yeah.
But I taught my own Instagram and social and branding course this week. So we all need help in certain areas.
Totally. And I do feel like it's something, I think it's slightly our generation and our age too. So we are both in Natalie just turned 40. I'm turning 40 in October. But I think we still come from that generation where you don't voice that stuff and you don't talk about your goals and your dreams and what you're working on, because it, for a long time, was read as arrogant. And so now things have shifted gears and have changed, and, thank goodness for Instagram and whatnot, and bringing people into your life and into your community that maybe would never have found you otherwise. And that you are able to be more open and talk about what you hope for and talk about what you want. And even if that dream is never realized, it's not shameful to put it out there.
No, absolutely not. If anything, I respect it more. Go for you. Way to go get it. Way to put it out there and hustle for it. And maybe that doesn't work out, but it leads you to something else or another person or that kind of thing. Absolutely.
So I think, can you do me a favor?
Of
so
course.
My questions are on Natalie's phone.
We're just on the fly, guys.
Yeah.
On the fly.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Going on this week.
Yes.
Okay.
Alt Summit is a busy place. Okay. So I feel like when you're starting any new thing in life, there's a lot of trial and error, right? And what are some tips?
Fear.
Yeah, and fear. What are some tips that you can give people who are interested in growing their feed, growing their community online? What have you found that's been super effective for you and moving the needle, not just in gaining new followers, but getting authentic engagement?
Yeah. I think number one, you're going to hear it all the time, authenticity, whatever. Everyone's like, yeah. But it's true. I can do a post, and I still have to remind myself. I'll do a post where I'm like, come check out my blog post, caption-wise on Instagram, and it falls flat, of course, because it's just noise, So it needs to be something that really, even if you're giving a little bit away, that's actually in the post, where you're really saying something. Use that post, use that caption, worthwhile. Make it really intentional and say something. Don't just say something, really say something.
Right.
Say, today was tough for me. I was struggling because X, Y, and Z. Or, I tend to do a lot. I like a visually pretty feed. I like the photos to be clean and cohesive, and that's just for me. I want to be able to show brands, especially.
No, but I think that's for everyone. And that's something that we teach a lot at Paideia, is a visual signature and how important that is. And brands are looking for that. Brands want to know that people are stopping to look at your pictures. And if you visually brand yourself and there's thought and purpose and intention behind your color scheme and behind your composition and behind all of that, you will stop and look at it. Your eye wants to see that. And brands want to partner with people who are putting that kind of effort in, but also that are going to get a response, and you're not just going to keep scrolling. So not only is it just I like it and it's pretty, but I think it actually is really important and weighted.
Right, true. I think that if you're looking to work with brands, if you're just looking to connect with people, you can post your selfie, you can post your dark thing, your kids on the beach, whatever, if that's your main goal. If you are looking to work with brands, you need to be able to show them. That's your calling card. That's your portfolio. They're going to click on you right away and be like, yes or no, and click right back off. They're not going to wait till be like, let me send you my media kit and let me show you what I have here. They're going to go to Instagram and they're going to see whether they want to or not. And so if you can present a really clear, strong, compelling feed, that's 9 times out of 10 how I've gotten brand deals is because they go to my feed and they see what they like and they're like, yes, I like what you did with, Oxotat, or I like what you did with Aveeno. Like that's a clear, strong, quality photo that positions us in a great light, and they're wanting to work with them. So it's
and
twofold.
A thoughtful caption.
Absolutely. Where it's not just like, buy this product. It's like, listen, my son has eczema and it's been a problem. And so, and truly, that's the other thing is personally, I only work with brands, and I know a lot of people say this too, but you don't necessarily see it translate. I turn down brands 9 times out of 10 because, and maybe I'm definitely not the one who's making the most money on Instagram by far, but I'm in the long game.
Yeah.
And that my reputation and how others perceive me matters a lot to me. And I don't want to be selling them something that I don't truly believe in, that I haven't used for years, that I can't stand by. My audience matters more to me than $1.
But I think that's a really poignant part, because at some point Instagram is going to be eclipsed by whatever the next platform is, and it's going to go away a little bit. And so if your whole game is that you're for sale to the highest dollar and it's all about the number of likes, how is that going to translate to the next platform? Because you don't have a real following at that point. You don't have a community that's interested in you. You're really more like a marketplace.
Right.
And people are just stopping by to see if there's something on sale that they want to get.
Right.
So I think it's a really smart and intentional move on your part that you're building a community.
Absolutely.
You're building a voice and a platform. And that's a big difference than just posting on Instagram to make a quick buck, or posting on Instagram for the sake of posting, or posting like 1,000 bikini pics, unless you're...
Which you will never see from me. I can assure you that. Never say never, but I'll say never on that. To go back to your original question quickly, is that twofold. One, in my caption, I'm writing, I try to, not always, but I try to write something that's really meaningful and that, goes along with, it's a pretty image, but you're getting the behind the scenes backstory, being like, my family looks cute here, but like, my husband and I were yelling at each other right before this was taken, and my daughter was throwing herself to the ground, and, cause that's relatable, and I can't relate to a woman who's like, in pearls and heels in the kitchen with muffins in one hand and the baby other, and be like, I served this up, like, there wasn't one problem, like, I'm burning things in the kitchen, like, I'm crying by the time my husband gets home, because like, I can't do it all. So that's what resonates with me, and I know that that's what resonates with my audience. But then also, getting on stories has been a phenomenal tool for me as far as engagement. Like, there's only so much engagement, and now people aren't even scrolling through the feed; they're just going straight through the stories. Again, I do at night. It's like my reality TV show. I have it on pause on the TV. I never end up watching that. I'm watching my stories of people I've gotten to know, and they're now my real reality stars, like real reality, not like a setup shot, not like a fed line, like legit real life. And so it's getting on stories and it's being you. It's getting on there with no hair and makeup done and not a cute outfit. It's getting on there and saying, giving them a behind the scenes, of your day, telling them what you're struggling with, telling them what you succeeded at, asking them questions.
I feel like the way that you use stories is the best way to infuse reality into that perfectly curated, perfectly manicured, impossible to live up to standards that Instagram puts before you. Because people are only putting their very curated, thought out, well planned, face tuned self.
Insta is not Insta. There's that's the biggest misconception is that my friends don't get it. They're like, oh, you don't just post right away and you don't just throw whatever caption. I'm like, no. No one who's killing it on Instagram. None of it is Insta. It is calculated. It is premeditated.
It's calendared.
It's calendared. It's scheduled. It's like it's thought out. There's nothing Insta about it.
But I think the balance with stories is it allows people to get to see you, the real you, the one that I know. You're funny. You have tough days. You have fun days. You are upset by what's happening in the news. You're you have a real opinion and you have a real life and you have all the real issues that the rest of us have.
Absolutely.
And the same insecurities and all that.
And if there's something really, it drives me nuts when there is something major going on in the world and someone's still posting about their cute outfit. And it's just I understand people don't want to go there. They're seeing it everywhere, but it's we're all living this. We're all feeling this. So even if you just address it briefly, I know it's a tough day. I'm here for you. I'm feeling for you. I'm here for you. I'm going through it too. Just to, you gotta be transparent and you gotta be real and you gotta be in the moment.
Totally.
And one more small note, and we'll get to your next question, is that I spend, old producer hat. I spend
the
majority of my How much time do you guys have? Stay with us. We're gonna get margaritas.
Yeah.
Nighttime will come.
Nighttime will come. Hello, it's nighttime. I'm here.
Just check back in a couple hours. We'll still be here. I spend the majority of my day, legitimately, responding to DMs, because that is what is important to me. I'm thankful that I get a lot of DMs because I've really developed this community, and I care about their lives just as much as they care about mine, maybe more. And I really genuinely do. I'm not saying that. Like, I've gotten to know their names, I've gotten to know their kids' names, I've gotten to know their stories, and I check in on them. How are you doing with this or whatever? Sometimes it's hard because they get flooded and I forget, and then they'll pop back up and I'll be like, oh yeah, about that 3 months ago, you know. But I genuinely care about them. They support me. I want to support them, and I spend an inordinate amount of time communicating with them, and it's time consuming, but it's worth it to me, and it's also paid off.
So we're shift gears a little bit. So I think a lot of people understand that brands are looking at the number of followers that you have, and there's a blanket term sort of thrown around called engagement, and people aren't necessarily clear on what that is, and that this magical combination of engagement plus numbers of followers that you have equals whether or not you're considered for a brand contract, and if they're going to pay you, and if so, how much. So would you help us pull back the curtain a little bit and explain how all of that kind of comes together?
Yes, absolutely. I will say, again, you'll probably hear this a lot, but it's really true, is that it's not as much about numbers.
Yeah.
It's way more about engagement. That's what, at least quality brands. Like, if it's a flash in the pan, like cheesy, trendy, not going to be there in a year, yeah, maybe they care about like 100,000 followers.
Right.
But if it's a legitimate, like an Aveeno or a Pampers or whatever it is that's within your wheelhouse, like a legitimate, worthy brand that has been here for years and it's going to be here for years, they care more about working with someone who has an authentic voice, who has a demo that's within their demo, who has a high engagement, who's on brand with them, who's a mother who's talking about motherhood issues. Like, you know, I'm not trying to get like, you know, a alcohol sponsorship on my page, although Mama likes her wine. But you know, I'm not trying to do a car dealership thing. Like, that wouldn't be on brand for me. And that's a lot of times where I am saying no. And like, for them, it's not wise. I don't know why they're even coming to me, because it's like, they need to find someone who has that lifestyle and is writing about those things and is posting those things.
Yeah.
So it really does come down to engagement. You can have 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers and get a great deal versus someone who has 100,000 followers, because your engagement is way better. There are people that are interacting with you, that are commenting, that are liking. It's just what it is.
And I would say, from a community building place, it is important to take into consideration who you partner with.
Absolutely.
Because it's tough, especially in the beginning, because you need money and you're trying to get started and you're trying to fund your business and you're trying to get all that up and off the ground. And it's really enticing to just say yes to everything that comes your way. But I think thinking about it and crafting it, and is this authentic? Does it make sense in my life? Do I really have something to do with it? You know, like, how is this going to pay off in the long term?
It's going to end up hurting in the long term if you just take anything.
Right. And is it a relationship that I can build with a brand so that we can continue to grow together? Because tell us a little bit about building a relationship with a brand.
So I know this is talked about a lot, and I actually tend to disagree. Everyone's like, don't work for free. It waters it down for all of us. And I get that to a certain extent. But if you are starting out and you only have a couple hundred or a couple thousand followers, and you really want to work with this brand, and they are in line with your branding, and it's a great relationship. The first time I worked for free a lot in the beginning. You know, maybe not a lot, but I worked with a few brands that I really liked once for product trade.
Right.
Because I really wanted to get on their radar, because I really wanted to establish a relationship, because I didn't have enough to offer them at that point.
Yeah.
And so I was willing, and I spelled it out for them. I said, hey, like, you know, I understand I don't have this big number. I don't yet. I know I will. But I love you so much, and I believe in you so much, and I want to build a relationship that I'm willing to, this time, do it for trade, do it for product trade. But then hopefully you'll be so happy with what I've done for you. And as I continue to grow, you can grow with me, and we will establish, and then next time I will need to talk about, you know, proper compensation.
Right.
And most of them get that, and they're appreciative that you're willing to do that. And like, if maybe then they can't.
But I think that's the catch.
Yeah.
Is that you're setting it up from the get-go.
Yes.
One time, I'm willing to do it in trade so that we can get to know each other, and we can see how this goes. And you can see if you're happy with me, and I can see if I'm happy with this product and it's fitting in with my life and my brand and whatever. And then moving forward, we're going to talk about proper compensation, because I think what becomes the tricky situation is you start off being like, yeah, I'd be happy to do it for free because I'm trying to build this relationship, and then that becomes the expectation because you didn't lay it out in the beginning, and then you feel awkward, or you feel bad, or you feel pushy, or you're afraid you're going to ruin your relationship with them.
And they will take advantage. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they take it for free? So they will take advantage if you let them, and not in a bad way, but just in like, why wouldn't you get it for free if you couldn't? I would.
Yeah.
No one's going to be like, no, we'll pay you. Like, if you're willing to do it for free. So yes, you have to establish that, and you have to not be afraid to put your foot down. And obviously, you're saying it professionally and politely.
Totally.
But like, they get it. They don't want to work for free either.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it definitely helps if you have, like, if you started already working with brands and you have something else to show them, you might not even have to do that. You might have to be like, yes, here's my rate card, here's my rate sheet, or like, what is in your budget, and you negotiate that thing. But if you have nothing to show for any brand or whatever, then yeah, you might need to do 1 or 2 or 3 for trade and kill it. And then be able to show that to them next time. This is what I did. This was my engagement was with this. This is what the conversion rate was with this. And show them those stats and those analytics. And, but, this is the other thing I think that's so important is that, like, again, I struggle with this too. It's really hard to self-promote, but it's so important. And so call in those favors. Ask your friends and your family members, like, hey, I just did the sponsored post. It's really important to me. Can you go over, if you have a minute today, and leave a comment, like a sincere comment? Can you like it? Can you share it? Ask for call in those favors at that point so you can get that engagement up for that post so you can then show them that later.
Totally. And I think it's kind of twofold here. So first off, I think coming to the brand with a clear idea that works for your brand, makes sense for them, seems to be aligned, seems in a good footprint with some options is a great place to go, because you want to make sure that you're producing content that's going to work for your site in addition to working for them, not just letting them own the creative and hold all the reins.
That's why hopefully they're coming to you, because they like your voice and your style, and they want you to create something. Like, that's the other thing I say to them is I'm like, sure, I'm happy to, but you need to send me the stuff and I'm going to shoot it for myself. Like, I don't want to just use their images. They could do that themselves.
Right, exactly. And then I think the other end is making sure that you capture all of the engagement and you capture some of the comments that you're getting and some of the back and forth that you're having with people who are engaged with this post. So then you can turn around and show them and be like, look, like, this did so well with my audience. They totally loved it. They want more. They want to know if there's more colors. Are you doing another line in the fall? Like, whatever that is, because you need to put yourself in a position to keep the ball rolling.
Sure. And I always, I follow up with them, I'm like, thank you so much. That was so great. Here are the analytics, let's talk in a few months. I'd love to work with you again. And then I follow up, I have it on my calendar, or I see it in my email thing, and I follow up and I say, hey, a couple months later, not like a week later, but like, I saw that you have this new product line launch, or what's going on, what do you have coming out? Or, I have Mother's Day's coming up and I'm planning X, Y, and Z. Like, this would be a perfect opportunity and a fit for you guys. Like, let me show you how and tell you why. So you have to be persistent and you have to be pitching. I mean, I pitch all the time. Like, I spend, if I'm not DMing with my audience, I am pitching. I am pitching all the time, and with new brands and with brands that I've worked with.
Yeah. And I think too, when you start to get into that flow with it, it makes it easier to pitch other brands.
Yes.
And once you kind of get some of those engagement numbers together, it's really good to start putting that sort of stuff into your media kit. So like, you could even do like a campaign at a glance sheet where it's like, we posted with this brand, it got X number of followers, we had a ton of comments, like, it was so positive, it was so great, and really help give the brand everything that they need on a plate for them so that you can close that deal.
Make it hard for them to say no. Make it like a home run. Like, absolutely. This girl is like, delivering.
Because, on the flip end, it's just like being a producer on a TV show or an editor at a magazine, which we've both done. You are overwhelmed with stuff.
Yes.
You have so many emails, so many deadlines, so many pitches, so much mail, so much stuff. You need it handed to you with a bow on it because you don't have time to make it all up yourself. And it's once you start building a relationship with someone, it becomes easier to like brainstorm ideas and come up with creative together. But in the beginning, it's a game changer. And I know for me, from my personal experience, I am so grateful to all of the experts and publicists and whatnot who would come to me with ideas and be like, we're happy to tweak this and change it if there's something that you want a little different. No problem. But like, this is where we're starting from.
I always say there's a fine line between persistence and stalking. You have to toe that line. But seriously, like, when I was a producer, I was getting, follow up from, and there was definitely people that you were like, please, like every day, like every week, stop, like, but then there are people who like would wait a couple weeks and then follow up again. And the way it's all in the approach too. Like, I'm so sorry to bother you. I know you're slammed, but it might have gotten buried in your inbox. Just wanted to, remind you, And I love that. And it often takes me, even still, as a blogger, I get pitched all the time from brands and people. And I never, we were pulling up my emails today and she was like, oh my God, what is happening there? Like, my inbox is a disaster.
If someone would like to be Natalie's assistant or intern, contact me. We'll set you up.
Yes. It's a mess. So I love when someone is persistent and follows up again. And it's like, hey, I'm so sorry. And oftentimes it takes the second or third email for me to be like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm so sorry. And it's just the time that it popped up and I see it.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there. So you have to be, adamant and persistent and in there.
Right. And don't take no personally, and don't take silence personally. A lot of times it's really just that people are too busy, and that's what it boils down to. But, also don't be afraid. Instead of just following up all the time, maybe come up with a new idea. Because maybe the idea wasn't right at that time, but the next idea that you have is going to be perfect timing. This is great. It's a go. Let's make it happen. And if you hear no problem. Maybe wait a couple months and check back and see if anything has changed.
Yeah. I've been pitching the Today Show for 4 years. Like, true story. 4 years. And I'm a contributor for them. Like, you'd think I would have like an easy in. And I've been on their show and I've done some things, but I've been pitching like lifestyle segments or more weighty segments, and I'm still on it. I'm doing it every couple months. And I'm like, hi, it's me again. Remember me? And it may never happen, but I fully believe it will happen. And it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
And so it just is like coming up with that perfect idea at the perfect time and being on their radar and reminding them and showing them what I've done, sending them a new clip. I mean, we're all doing it.
Totally. So aside, moving gears from that a little bit, I think what you have mastered better than most people I have seen in Instagram is creating a real community of people. So people who are real, are funny, are relatable. It's such a reflection on you, and it's such a reflection on how vulnerable you let yourself be on stories, and that you don't candy coat what's happening in your life. And
I could probably do a little bit more of candy coating. I'm really too whoa, lady. Didn't even hear about that rash you've got going on right now.
Oh no, but I want to share some of that insight with our viewers. So, what would you share, and what would you counsel people to do to start to build an audience in that footprint? And I think there's a line between being vulnerable and just sharing way too much. So can we talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah. First of all, my community is amazing. They are so awesome. You're right. They're funny, they're smart, they're hardworking, they're talented, they're supportive. I'm so lucky that I have them, and I just could go on all day about them. But the way in which I went about it is that I was, like we talked about before, I was authentic. I put myself out there, whatever. I think it's also, I think that you need to also be kind of clear about stories is spontaneous, much more than the feed is or whatever, but you still need to be a little mindful of kind of what you're presenting, so I edit them, and I not edit them in trust me, there's no photoshopping or that kind of thing, but I don't show everything.
You do love that lash filter.
I do. Oh my God, the Kylie Jenner lash filter, not the lips. I can't deal with the lips, but just the lashes is game changing. And I'm sorry, I don't really support the Kardashians mostly any other way, but I will use that filter. I think, I follow one blogger, Instagrammer, for instance, and I love following her. She's fun, she's relatable, and I love mostly when she's on there as is and not all done up. But she puts, 20 frames of her children playing, and I'm like, your kids are adorable, and that's one of the reasons I follow her. But I don't need to see, and it's not like they're saying a funny thing, or they're having a meltdown that we can relate to, or there's a new toy that we want to know about. It's literally just them monotonously playing in the background, and you're just you don't need to see that. So in that sense, I try to edit things. I try to not show a million slides of my kids doing nothing. I try to not, do 10 million duck face selfies. I don't do those at all. But no one needs, what is the takeaway from that? What are you guys getting from that? That I think I look cute today? I want something where you can really grasp onto, whether it's something that's funny that you'll get a laugh with, whether it's something that's a little bit more challenging or sentimental that you'll get a good cry with or know that you're not alone, whether it's a great find that, that I have or whatever, or I'm here and you're getting a takeaway or a tip from something. I try to provide value, entertainment and value.
Yeah.
And so if it's not within that realm, I try not to post it, and there'll still be a few things on there that's just letting you see about my day or a pretty shot, but mostly I try to have it be something that's worthwhile watching for one reason or another.
Right.
And otherwise edit it down.
Yeah. Well, and I think that comes back to having been a content creator for a long time. So the thing that makes your stories engaging and so watchable, aside from you and your personality and all of that, is that you're telling a story quickly and succinctly, and you're hitting all the beats. And sometimes that's 5 little Instagram story frames, and sometimes it takes 8 or 10. But you're not going on and on and on and on, and it's not multiple frames of you doing nothing or you saying something it's not relevant relevant to the storyline.
Right.
There's a middle, a beginning.
Absolutely.
I mean, a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And I think it's something that's lost on a lot of people on
They
social.
get on there. I don't get on there if I don't have something to say. I can't stand the people that are like, so what else do I have for you? Or like, I don't really have anything to share today. I'm like, then why are you getting on? Like, what? You're wasting your time and mine.
Yeah.
I get on when I think variety is key, for me at least. I like to see a little bit of everything. I don't want to see all your kids. I don't want to see all your makeup routine. I don't want to see, I want to see a little, slice of life and a little bit of everything. And I tend to get on because I'm verbose, and as you've probably seen, I can talk. So I try not to do that every day because it would just be slide after slide of me talking. And so I try to limit it to like once or twice per week. And when I have some time and I feel... That's the other thing, is a lot of people message me and they're like, I feel so awkward or I'm so nervous on it, whatever. Then don't get on and do that. Like, do it when you're feeling confident.
Yeah.
Do it when you're feeling like you have something to say.
Yeah.
Do it like when you would call your best friend or your mom and you would go, like, tell them something or whatever. Like, do that. Be that person. Pretend that that's the person. Try not to do, the more you do it, the less nervous you'll get. But do it in those moments where you're feeling, don't get on when you're like, or when you have nothing to say. So
Right.
I limit it on those days where I have a story to share or something I want to say to you. And they are pretty lengthy because that's not my strong suit. But then I won't talk the next day or two. Like, I'll share you other things. So it's not always me just droning on.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's smart. And there is more strategy behind it than it appears just because it's Instagram stories.
Yes.
And I think as a content creator, which is what you are, if you're trying to push yourself as a brand on Instagram, is that there needs to be some thought.
Yeah.
There needs to be some editing.
Yeah.
There needs to be a moment where you're like, this is a little too much.
I've deleted things.
Also,
I've filmed things and not shared things.
Yeah.
I also think a good tip is to, while it is still raw and real, I will film it and then save it. So like I started doing that more to be present with my family. So I wasn't then like captioning it and swipe up and all that. But also it works because it's like you can tell more of a story that way.
Yeah.
So you can like figure out like, oh, maybe it doesn't fit in right before this. It fits in after this. Or maybe it fits in tomorrow or the next week when it's, I have a post coming up or I want to talk about this product. Like you can be intentional with still being real and raw.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add or share with our viewers?
I was going to say one thing about with the DMs and going back and forth. Often I will reshare messages from people that have DM'd me. And I don't do that in a way to be like, ha ha ha, look how, great or popular I am. I do it because they've said something that either will provide a laugh for someone else that we're going through, or is a real sentimental story. And I don't want it to be just about me. The joke is like, it's called Nat's Next Adventure and I brand everything that because that's good for branding and then it. But really, I don't want to be famous or a celebrity. I don't even like being the center of attention. I'm the kind of person who hangs out in the back of the party with with a few friends and isn't like working the room necessarily unless I have to. But I want it to be a real community. And the only bummer is that I can't share all that all the time. I wish there was maybe there will be in the future, where we could all come together. I know there's a Facebook group, but I'm just not a Facebook girl. And my community is on Instagram.
Right.
But I would love for them to see everyone else, and because there's such amazing women in this space. So I often will share conversations that I've had with one-on-one so everyone can kind of be a part of it and feel like they're part of the community, and they can be like, oh my God, that woman's so funny, or like, oh my God, I feel for her.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I would write back to her, and I've shared their responses to one another.
Yeah.
So I think that helps with building the community as well.
Yeah.
So they can see what's going on behind the scenes. And,
well, because then it's almost like you all are having a conversation together instead of like 100 one-on-one conversations with you.
And while it's not like the prettiest thing to look at, just like the thing, it's meaningful and it connects more than a pretty slide of a
Totally. Yeah. No, absolutely. All right. Well, perfect.
Thanks for joining in, guys.
I know. And can you tell
we see if there's any questions quickly, or do we not have time?
I mean, we have time. I just don't see any questions. But we can look.
Oh, just nice things. Margaritas.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you have questions, send them to Paideia or send them to NNA Consulting. And we are happy to help you out.
Yeah.
We're your girls.
And
we're here to help.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Or you just want to meet us and have margaritas, we can do that too.
We like that. That'd be fun.
Like that.
Yeah. And where can everyone find you? Because you guys need to follow Natalie. She's funny. She's amazing. Her family's great. Her daughter is my spirit animal.
Keep it coming.
Yeah.
I paid her to say all these things.
She did. Yeah. Exactly.
She's my hype woman. You can find me at Nat's Next Adventure, and you can also find me at NNA Consulting. And you can also find me, because I just like to, have as many platforms as possible, at Momicdotes. So that's kind of what I've tried to do with Nat's Next Adventure, where, we were having all these amazing conversations with mothers in particular, to have our own forum there where it's not about me, it's about all moms. And we can, see a funny quote or an inspirational quote, or I'll highlight and feature other moms and tell a little bit about their story. And we connect there in that space too. So wherever you can find me, however you'd like to join, I'm happy to have you. And stop by, say hello, send me a DM, put something in the comments and let me know who you are, where you're from, your story, and I would love to connect with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you for having
me. This
me.
was so insightful, so fun. I learned a lot, which I love. And yeah, guys, if you all have any questions or anything, please let us know. Oh, wait, I lied. We have one.
Hey, Katie.
Hi.
Hey.
All right. So when did you know you had made an impact through social media?
That's a very good question, Gina. I think it really started with people finding an article that I wrote 6 years ago and like it still having legs and them coming to me. So when I wrote about my nursing struggles and then a few years later I wrote about my miscarriage, and that still is kind of and I'm getting comments from people. And so I was starting to get these messages of people saying how much it meant to them, how much my words, found them at a time where they needed them the most, and sharing their heartfelt stories with me, heartbreaking stories with me. And that continue to catch on and grow.
Yeah.
And then I would share, I always ask if I can share. So I'd ask if they can share, and then I would white out their photo and their name and anything that would pertain to their particular story. But I would share these, if they were allowed me to, with my community. So I'd post it on stories, and they would, that would inevitably then bring out 20, 30, 40 more women out of the woodwork being like comfortable to share their story through a DM and like have that voice if they're not comfortable to really talk about it out there. And I noticed that was when I was really like connecting on a real level with real experiences in life. And that's kind of where I saw that. And then again, now with my daughter's anxiety, also I'm getting a ton of people coming to me for that. So that's when I noticed I was really making an impact. And it felt amazing because it wasn't about, again, no knock. I do this too. But it wasn't about my earrings or like my sunglasses. It was about something that like truly matters. And I was giving women a voice. And I was helping them during a tough season in their life.
Well, and I think helping to remove a little bit of the stigma around it. Because I think the silence is such a thing for females. We do not talk about a lot of this stuff.
We don't.
And I feel like it needs to change.
Yes,
and I think it's great to have a place where you feel connected to someone and you feel like you have a safe place to say, wow, this really moved me, or I remember that happening to me and I felt however, and it's good to have that.
We see, especially as women, we see weakness, we see that as a weakness. We see, sharing our failures or our vulnerability or shortcomings as a weakness when really it's a strength.
Yeah.
And as soon as you say it, you get so much back.
Yeah.
So many women that have been through similar things and that are willing to help you and support you. And the amount of advice I've been given, the amount of articles and books and other accounts that people have, it has been so helpful to me. So it's really just about sharing the wealth and being vulnerable and sharing your story.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's going to be it for today. We'll wrap it up here. So thank you so much. This was super fun. And thanks you guys for tuning in. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 12:30.